Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to an A.H.A.D moment, the calm before the storm. I'm your host, Fakir Abdulaziz, along with my brother, Adam Hanif Saleem, and along with us is our special guest, our extra special guest, Holy-Apostle Deen Saleem. Holy Queen Mother.
That's the extra right there.
Yeah. And I speak wrongly, you're not guest, you are just special, because we're regular. you're not, and the television.
He must be trying to get something from me, boy. I tell you, he know how to wax it good, don't he? All right, how much do you need?
I need a new opening for the show, but welcome to you all out there in our New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania audience, and welcome our studio audience around here. Let me give you the greetings of peace. May I ease this peace and other blessing me within and about your presences, and certainly the same goes for you.
Thank
May I
you,
ease this peace and other blessing me within and about your presences. We were talking before the show, and I was being critiqued on my introduction and how long-winded I can be on the introduction. So we want tell on yourself before you get told on in public, right? But we did have some subject matters that we were talking about. We'd like to maybe get right to them. When we were talking about belief and trust in the Lord and all that it does for us and the like that. And out of that, Lord Holy-Apostle.
I think that was Holy Queen's
yes, it was.
subject
Holy
matter,
Queen
right? Wasn't it?
Yes.
Belief and trust. You want to start it out?
In the Quran, Allah talks about, do not say that you're a believer, but say that you're attempting to believe. I don't think that we really look at that statement for what it really is. When you're attempting, that means you're making an effort. And efforts come in different stages. Sometimes you're effortless, but effort comes in different stages. And, we was talking before the show, and I was listening to people saying, I'll be trying and I'll be doing good, and then, I'll be falling back and things of that nature. But one of the things that Ahezaah gave me this week that I was pondering over was, about the belief, about not being a true believer, but attempting to believe. And when you look at that, you say, well, how do I attempt to believe? And that's, trust comes into that. That's where that blind faith come into play, because because I either give you the ability to pick right over wrong. You think that you know right from wrong, and in that you have a tendency to think that your mind is going to lead you aright. And what happens in that type of situation is that you start making decisions based on that. But Allah said that it would not lead you astray if you believe. Now Allah knows that it didn't give you full belief, but if you're making them attempts to believe, Allah don't lead you astray. It gives you its words of truth for you to follow. And in this day and time, and for myself, Allah has gave me the messenger. And I was just pondering over, when we came together in our lives and everything, and I was just thinking about how I chose not to trust. I was hoping that things would work out well for us, but I didn't have the belief that it would, but I was hoping, you understand? And in that process, Allah gave me one trial after another trial after another trial. And I was explaining to my children is that it's hard to walk with the message of Allah, especially if you're not attempting to believe, because Allah will set trials there for you. And if you say that this is the message of Allah, and I believe that He is the message of Allah, but then when the messenger tell you things that you need to do to get where you need to be in your belief, and you can't pick up that and do it, then right there, you're not attempting to believe. You're not having faith that he is what he is, and that Allah is going to deliver you. One thing the Holy Apostle said to me that I took to heart. He said, if I'm wrong, it's to your benefit to follow me in wrong. Because Allah is going to judge you for your intentions. And if I'm wrong, Allah still ain't going to lead you astray. If you have trust in it. And I was like, well, wow, that's kind of confusing. But I said, you know what? Let me look at this for what it's worth. If I believe I'm doing right, whether it's wrong, Allah is going to judge me based on where I stood in it.
If you're completely sincere,
If I'm sincere
and your
in it.
intentions are of the righteous,
Right.
Allah is not going to mislead you. What I had said was, it's better to follow me in wrong than to follow those other people in what they consider to be right. Because I am the messenger of Ahezaah, and I am guided by Ahezaah, and I don't tell people to do things aside from what Ahezaah tell me to tell them. So if it look like it's wrong, or it may be wrong in the eyes of society, it's not wrong with the Lord Ahezaah. Therefore, it's better to follow me in what you consider to be wrong than to follow them against me in what they consider to be right. And the reason I had said that, let the audience know where you at, where you coming from, is because at that particular time I had a lot of people threatening my life, talking about assassinating me because I was speaking the truth, and then they was trying to bring up the holy scriptures from all different time periods, including the Holy Quran of Muhammad, and to prove me wrong. But no one has yet to prove me wrong after 31 years. So that's where we was coming from with that statement that you had, you was making.
And when I was processing this, I said, okay, so where do we start at? As individuals, into believing that Allah is with this man, has chosen him to be the messenger. See, because my whole thing is, if you're sincere, you have to have a starting point. Mm-hmm. You understand? You have to have a starting point. And so I looked at the situation at 20 some odd years ago, and it was a process. But one of the things that I asked the Lord to bless me to do was to trust it, and to close my eyes and just go for it, and to have mercy on me, and to follow its command. Now, Allah sent down a lot of things upon me, as it do other individuals in this community, as it is to our audience as well. They're being commanded, even though they may not look at it as being commanded. See, Allah's will is always going to be done, but Allah commands things from us. And if you don't follow them commands, you have not yet attempt to believe.
I taking from what you were saying, about belief, one of the things that makes it so hard for people to understand that statement about Ahezaah saying, don't say that you are a believer, say that you are attempting to believe, is because society has people, for the most part, believing that they understand what belief in Ahezaah is. You could trust something and not believe it.
Correct.
Like you said, you didn't believe what I was telling you about what Allah was saying to me in regards to ourselves and our future, but you trusted that Allah would not hurt you. And I remember you and I having a conversation 20 some odd years ago, when I said to you what you kind of echoed about if you're right with Allah, if you consider yourself right with Allah and you're sincere, why would Allah hurt you? And where I got that from is because people used to tell me during the time I was in the Nation of Islam, because I've been reading the Holy Quran since I was a child, a baby just about. They were saying, the messenger said, don't read the Holy Quran, leave that for the ministers. And they were spooked out. They were saying that I was going to get chastised for reading the Holy Quran, that I was going to get bugged out. And I had a problem with it, because I had been reading it long before I even became a member of their group, their organization. And I said, why? Why would Allah hurt me if I'm being sincere. Maybe I do need to pray more before going into that book. Maybe I do need to fear more of going into that book. But why would Allah send something down from heaven to hurt the ones that it says it will save, it will choose, it will love, it will befriend? Why? You see? And that's the same thing about your belief system. You got people that don't want to believe in Allah's commandments. They don't want to believe in his messengers or the Holy Spirits that come with the messenger. And at the same time, they don't believe in Ahezaah. You got millions or billions of Muslims running around here saying they believe in Allah, and they pray to his name, pray upon it for his gifts, praise his names, use his names, in their prayers, in their conversations, but they worshiping the name, and they're believing in the name, not the force behind the name, not the reality behind the name. Because if they were correct in their belief system, then it would keep them from breaking off the religion and worshiping some other god in hadithism that they only use the name Allah for at their convenience. To say that we're one gang, one group, and it's this way. How can you say you believe in Allah if you put Allah aside and choose its messenger? Choose the companions of its messenger. Choose their words to be your great staple or your pillars of faith. Now, Allah promised the Muslims through Muhammad that if they did what the people of the book did before them, it would change and turn and create a new people, which it has with us. Because they took Jesus, just like the people of ancient Egypt took Isis and Horus, just like people took Krishna and made them gods, made them something other than what they were, gave them a power that people give the devil, to act as though they have an independent power. Their gifts is their gifts, and they can intercede for you. When Allah said through Muhammad, let me correct this, there's no intercession of the messengers for any of the servants between them and Allah. They can't save you. They can't protect you. Allah alone is the Savior. Now, if you don't have faith and trust, you'll never come to true belief. You have to have blind faith first. You have to have faith first, because what brings you into belief, believe it or not, it's not what's in your heart, and it's not what's in your mind that is separate from your experience. It is your experience, your realization in that experience, which brings you to belief. You have to come to know Ahezaah, Allah. You have to come to know it to believe it. You can't believe in something that you don't know. No matter how much you say you believe it, you might trust it, you might get tricked by it, but you can't believe it until you know it. And a lot of people get confused because they say they believe, and then when good things happen, they say, see, I believe, I'm glad I believe. No, you're glad you trusted it. You're glad you had faith until belief came to you, because belief is certainty. And there's no certainty without experience, without knowledge. I'm certain if I stick a pen in my finger, it's going to hurt unless Allah removed my nerve sensation to keep me from feeling it. So I didn't say absolutely I believe it's going to hurt, because it may not. But I believe it can, because I have experienced that it can, and I have experienced that it don't. So I can believe in both ends from my experience. Without experience, you can't believe. You can't believe.
Right, and you need that starting point to have that blind faith and trust in order to gain that experience.
The starting point being the trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
When I first came to my awakening state, where after I had been tricked, because see, Allah came to me when I was 7 years old, and Gabriel came to me, and other things came to me from the heavens of the unseen, and called me to the right way and directed me. I run to my parents, and my mother, the first thing she tell me is, "Shut up, boy, don't talk like that. That's Muslim talk." Now, I have been raised by no Muslims. But it's just what the angel and what the Lord said to me, I brought it to my parents. My mother told me, "Don't ever talk like that." Okay. I go to church, they tell me, my aunts and uncles tell me, "Don't talk like that." I'm scared to talk to the minister because I just know he gonna tell me, "Don't talk like that." I go to the adults in the community because I used to talk to a lot of adults. They tell me, "Don't talk like that. That's Muslim talk. Where you get that from?" So I followed them and went into the world and became a tyrant. One of the worst, you know? Until I came back some years later as a young adult and found myself in the right way again, and fell in love with Allah because I knew it had saved me from what I had been tricked into going on and forced into going or seduced into going to by those who was in authority over me and my peers. Because there was only a few Muslims in the projects, man, when I grew up. Everybody's talking about, they see me, they say, "Salam alaikum, pork chops and bacon." You know, stuff like this here. You know, I had to fight people, man. I thought that was the way. Kick some butt, but that wasn't the way. You know. But the thing about it was, I fell in love. And Ahezaah gave me love from itself. For me to fall in love with. And my mind started clearing up. My reasoning came clear. And I started looking into things and weighing people's actions and all things that was around me. And as I read the holy book again, because I had put it down for many years, and I read it again, and it was making sense to me. And Elijah said something. It says, don't read the Holy Quran without the Bible. Read the Bible too, because that's our background. And I started reading the Bible, and I said, well, I need a dictionary because, you know, I'm not that educated. So I had my Bible, my Quran, and my dictionary. Man, what a match. What a match. Because the English dictionary told me what these words were saying in the Holy Bible and the translated words in the Holy Quran, what they actually meant, and at different levels, the different tones of the meanings. It caused me to be able to put together more things. And one of the most important things that I came to is that these words of all the Holy Scriptures, because I got greedy, I started going to all different stuff. They all came from Allah and they was from the same source. They was the same truth. They're spoken at a different time by different people, by different messengers in different languages. But they were the same truth. I said, wow, the Bible is the Quran. The Quran is the Bible. Whoa. How many people know this? They don't know this. But see, there's people who covers the truth, who was amongst the powerful men and jinn of Islam, and the Hebrews and the Jews and the Christians that hid this purposefully. You understand? So what happened to me was I started having faith in Allah, because as I had trusted it and loved it, it started giving me more faith in the things I didn't know. It would say a thing and I would have faith. This must be right because everything else was right. So my faith grew. And as my faith grew, it started giving me trials. Therefore, I started coming to experiences. And then I started realizing, Allah must be with me because this happened for me and that happened because I followed that and this happened and that happened. Success, success, success. It must be the Lord doing it. So it put me on the right course right then, letting me know you need me, not yourself, as the guide. And I said, well, what about this book? And when I came across one of the chapters, one of the verses saying this book is the criterion of that which came before it and that which was to come after it, which was yet to come. I understand that which was yet to come meant that Allah was sending something else. That Muhammad wasn't the final prophet. The Quran wasn't the final book. Something else had to be sent. And lo and behold, I found that something else was in the book of Revelation. It had been indicated before Muhammad through Jesus that something else was going to be sent after the Comforter. That there was going to be a last day. A day of judgment. And we was going to have a new book. Another book. And I said, criterion, what does criterion mean? That which establishes judgment. That which determines what's right and what's wrong. So if the Holy Quran was the criterion of that which came before it and that which was yet to come, meaning the Holy Scriptures, I said, oh my Lord, the Quran is the dictionary of the Holy Scriptures. That's the way I seen it. It interpreted the meaning of what was said by Imhotep and Akhenaten and Enoch and Noah and Abraham and all the rest of the prophets, Siddhartha Gautama. It explained what they were saying, what they meant. But I had to have trust in Allah, not the book. I had to have trust in Allah. I didn't have to have trust in the Quran. Because lo and behold, you start thinking to have trust in that Quran and you go into it and don't even realize that you reading your own mind, your own understanding, your own interpretation. You so far away from the Quran, you can't even imagine how far away you are from the Holy Quran. So I had to trust Allah first. And Allah did not open up the Holy Quran of itself to me in the depth that was so awesome that it knocked me off my heels until I became enlightened. And when I became enlightened in unity with it, and it started rehearsing the Quran to me and explaining, I was like, oh Allah, I never read this before. I never read this. But it was the same book with the same words. But it had gave me the reasoning and the understanding. It was the author of what it wrote. It is the only one who knows its Quran. Muhammad did not even know its Quran. Just like I have the book of the 7 seals. I don't even know that. I know the words. I know the meaning of some of the words. But the experience, the knowledge, the information is all too great for me. I can't contain it. Muhammad couldn't contain the Quran. It was only said in him, but it wasn't weighed on his mind. Allah held that up from him. Allah said itself, if I would have put this on a mountain, it would have crushed it. So it held it up over Muhammad. And Muhammad understood that he was just the messenger. And he was not the final. And no praise was due to him. So his name wasn't Muhammad. It was Muhammad. Not one worthy of praise. One who praised much. And he praised Allah much. Because he had experience that gave him belief. Experience that gave him greater trust. Greater faith. Experience that gave him certainty. That it was all El and not himself. And I mentioned El, and someone had called me because of something I had said in one of the other shows, and they had mentioned about the confusion they had got about El. Allah's name, if you break it down, they translate so much. If they translate the name Allah, what they are saying is El-Ah. The Ah. Ah is the greatest name of Allah. The greatest name of the Lord El. The supreme name of El is the. The greatest name coming out from the is Ah. For mankind, if not for anyone else. Because in your most extreme moments, you always say Ah. From pleasure, from one extreme of pleasure to pain, you say Ah. When you first born into this world and they spank you to make you start speaking, you say Ah. Ah is Allah's name. You'll even hear other creatures say it. Okay? So the Muslims, the Arabs know that Allah is El-Ah, the Ah. And when Allah says that, when it talked about itself as the creator, it said, I created creation and then I breathed my spirit into it and gave it life. It created it of its essence and breathed its spirit into it and then gave it motion. It did three things, and it always works in threes. It gave us essence in forms, breathed its spirit into us, the spirit of breath, and then gave us movement, motion, vibration. And that's our life. So it is Allah, Allah. The same as the Lord of Moses and Jesus. And when it said to the Muslim Muhammad to tell them that I am Hugh of their so-called Jehovah, and I am El-Ah, the same one, the eternal breath. Muhammad told them that, but the people try to hide that. So with belief and faith, you can come to belief, but you must have experience to know belief. And we can't impress that upon you enough for you to understand, because the devil then tricked the people of the world to think that if they trust something, they believe it. You know? And Allah says something else in the Holy Quran. Don't think that because you say you believe that you will not be tried. Why do Allah say that? Because you got so many people say, I'm a believer, but when they try, they show that they do not believe. They don't know what belief is.
Right.
You know? We got 1 minute.
Yes, and with that 1 minute, Queen Mother, we'll come back with our Brooklyn audiences. We'll sign off this half-hour segment of them and continue with our 1 hour segment with New York and Pennsylvania, the rest of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Thank you, Lord.
And New York, Manhattan, and whatever.
And may I eat this peace and all the best be within and about you in Brooklyn.